I need you to understand something before I tell you this story. I'm not the type of woman who makes scenes. I raised my son in a rent-controlled apartment in Washington Heights with 2 jobs and a smile I couldn't afford to lose. I taught him to say please and thank you. I taught him that family is everything. I taught him wrong. Because last Christmas, at 6:47 p.m., while Bing Crosby crooned from the speakers and my granddaughters wore the velvet dresses I'd bought them from Macy's, the ones that cost me 3 weeks of grocery money, my daughter-in-law looked me dead in the eye and told me I was useless. Not whispered. Not implied. Useless. The serving spoon hit the table so hard the gravy boat jumped. Metal on wood. That sound, God, I can still hear it. Everyone froze. My son Daniel's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. His wife Lily stood there, her face flushed with something that looked like victory, and she said it again, louder this time, like she wanted to make sure the neighbors 3 brownstones down could hear. You're useless, Aisha. Completely useless. Stop forcing your presence into this family. I sat there with my hands folded in my lap, these hands that had changed Daniel's diapers, that had worked double shifts at Mount Sinai, that had co-signed his student loans and held his babies when Lily said she was too exhausted to do nights. I looked around that dining room. At the crate and barrel table I'd helped them buy. At the walls I'd helped them paint Columbia blue, because Lily said it was calming. At the Christmas tree in the corner, the one I'd driven 2 hours to Connecticut to pick out because Lily wanted the perfect one and Daniel was too busy with work. The apple pie I'd baked that morning sat shoved in the pantry. Shoved. Like trash. Like evidence of a crime. Lily. My voice came out smaller than I wanted. What did I do? She laughed. Actually laughed. The sound was sharp enough to cut. Existing, she said. That's what you did. Existing and thinking that gives you the right to be here. 16 people at that table. Daniel's colleagues, Lily's book club friends, my granddaughters, 7 and 9, looking at their grandmother like I'd just turned into something monstrous. And not one person spoke. Not one person moved. Except Daniel. My son, my beautiful boy who I'd carried for 9 months and raised for 39 years, he looked down at his plate, studied that plate like it held the secrets of the universe, and said nothing. Nothing. The silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was the kind of silence that has weight, that presses down on your chest until you can't breathe. I could hear the radiator hissing. Someone's phone buzzing. A car alarm 3 blocks away. Everything except the sound of my son defending me. I'm sorry, I heard myself say. I don't even know why I apologized. Habit, maybe. A lifetime of smoothing things over, of making myself smaller so other people could be comfortable. Lily smiled then. Not a kind smile. A smile that said she'd won something. That's when I understood. This wasn't about the pie, or my presence, or whatever convenient excuse she'd invented. This was about the fact that 3 months ago, I'd finally told her no. No, I couldn't watch the girls every weekend. No, I couldn't help with the down payment on the summer house in the Berkshires. No, I needed to think about my own retirement, my own life, the fact that I was 67 years old and tired in a way that sleep couldn't fix. I'd been useful then, very useful. For 18 years, I'd been an ATM machine that also provided free childcare and didn't require a PIN code. But the moment I stopped being useful, I became useless. I looked at my son again. Really looked at him. At this man who'd once held my hand crossing busy streets, who'd cried in my lap when his father left us, who'd promised me at his wedding that he'd never let anyone disrespect me. He was still staring at his plate, and I thought, when did I lose you? The guests started that awful thing people do when they witness something terrible. They pretended nothing had happened. Someone asked about the weather. Someone else complimented the centerpiece. The conversation limped forward like a wounded animal, and I sat there invisible, a ghost at my own son's table. I should tell you that I cried, that I ran out, that I made my own scene. But I didn't. I sat there through dessert, not my pie of course, but some store-bought tiramisu Lily presented like it was homemade. I sat there through coffee. Through the girls' opening presents, including the American Girl doll I'd saved 4 months to buy, which Lily accepted with a tight smile and no thank you. And then, as I was putting on my coat in the foyer, Daniel finally found his voice. "Mom," he said quietly, "Lily's just stressed. You know how she gets during the holidays." I looked at my son, at this stranger wearing my son's face. "Do you know?" I said, my voice steady for the first time all night. What I get to be. He blinked. I walked out into the December cold, and I didn't look back. But here's what Daniel didn't know. What Lily definitely didn't know. I hadn't been forcing my presence into their family. I'd been documenting my exit from it. And what I'd discovered 3 weeks before Christmas was going to change everything. Everything. But first, you need to understand how I got here. How a mother becomes useless. How love becomes currency. How family becomes a transaction you can't afford anymore. This is that story. And I promise you by the end, Lily's going to wish she'd eaten my apple pie. The smell of cinnamon still does it to me. One whiff and I'm back in that cramped kitchen in Washington Heights, 4:30 inches the morning, rolling out dough for Daniel's lunch because the kid refused to eat cafeteria food. He was 11. I was 39 and already so tired my bones ached in languages I didn't have words for. But I'd make those sandwiches. Every single morning. Turkey and Swiss on whole wheat, crusts cut off the way he liked, wrapped in wax paper with a note tucked inside. Love you, baby. Make today great. I did that for 7 years. You want to know about sacrifice? Let me tell you what sacrifice actually looks like. It's not dramatic, it's not a single heroic moment. It's the accumulation of 10,000 small deaths of self that you don't even notice until you look in the mirror one day and can't remember who you used to be. After Michael died heart attack at 42, right there on the one train platform, I had 2 choices, crumble or calcify. I chose neither. I chose Daniel. He was 12 years old, and his father was gone, and someone had to be strong enough for both of us. So I worked. Hard, did I work. Double shifts at Mount Sinai, weekend overtime at the bakery on Amsterdam Avenue. I wore the same 3 outfits for 2 years because Daniel needed new sneakers every 4 months. Growing boy, basketball team, you know how it is. I learned to make 1 chicken last 5 meals. I learned to smile through exhaustion so complete it felt like drowning on dry land. But here's what I want you to understand. I didn't resent it, not once. That's the part people don't believe, but it's true. When you love someone that much, sacrifice doesn't feel like loss. It feels like purpose. Daniel got into NYU. Full ride? No. Partial scholarship? Yes. The rest? That was Michael's vintage Rolex collection, the only thing of value he'd left us. 6 watches. I sold them one by one over 4 years to cover what the loans didn't. The last one, a 1968 Submariner that Michael's father had given him, I sold the week before Daniel's graduation. He never knew. I never told him. When he met Lily, I was so happy I cried. My boy, in love. She was smart, Columbia MBA, ambitious, a little sharp around the edges, but I figured that's what he needed, someone strong. Someone who'd push him to be better. The wedding cost $43,000. I contributed $12,000. I didn't have $12,000. But I contributed it anyway because mothers do impossible math when it comes to their children's happiness. And then the babies came. Oh, those beautiful girls. Maya and Sophie. I held them minutes after they were born, still wrinkled and furious at the world, and I felt my heart crack open all over again. This was my second chance at motherhood, at legacy, at love. Lily went back to work 6 weeks after Maya was born. I have a career, Aisha, she told me. I can't just stop being a person. So I became the person who stopped. 3 days a week, I took the express bus from Washington Heights to Tribeca, 90 minutes each way to watch my granddaughters. I'd get there at 7, leave at 7, 12-hour days, no pay of course, family doesn't charge family. I changed diapers. I sang lullabies. I made organic baby food from scratch because Lily read somewhere that store-bought had too much sodium. I taught Maya her ABCs. I was there for Sophie's first steps, not Lily, not Daniel, me. And I was grateful. Can you imagine? I was grateful for the privilege of being used. When they bought the brownstone in Park Slope, they were $30,000 short on the down payment. I gave them $22,000. My entire retirement savings from the bakery. 20 years of tips and overtime, gone in one wire transfer. We'll pay you back, Mom, Daniel promised. They never did, and I never asked. Because that's not what love does, right? Love gives without keeping score. Love shows up. Love sacrifices in silence and calls it joy. I thought I was building something. A family. A legacy. Proof that even after losing Michael, Even after all the struggle, I'd done something right. I'd raised a good man. I'd loved well. I'd earned my place. But here's what nobody tells you about sacrifice. It only matters if the people you're sacrificing for remember you're human. To Lily, I wasn't human. I was infrastructure. I was the bridge she walked across to get to the life she wanted, and once she was safely on the other side, she didn't need the bridge anymore. And my son? The boy I'd worked myself to dust for? He learned to look away. There was a moment, maybe 2 years before that Christmas dinner, when I should have seen it coming. We were at their place. I'd brought groceries, unpacked everything, started dinner. Lily came home, looked at the bags on the counter and said, "Aisha, you don't have to keep doing things to prove you belong here." At the time, I thought she was being kind, telling me to relax. Now I know what she really meant. You don't belong here at all. If you've ever given everything to someone who later turned away, you'll understand this part. And if you're still giving, still hoping your love will be enough, please, hear me. Love is never the problem, it's the people who weaponize it. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Because 3 weeks before that Christmas dinner, I found something. And what I found changed everything. I found the emails on a Tuesday. Not because I was snooping, let me be clear about that. I was at their place watching the girls. Sophie had spilled juice on Daniel's laptop, and I was trying to clean the keyboard before it shorted out. The screen lit up, and there it was. An email chain between Lily and her sister Karen. Subject line: The Aisha problem. My hands went numb. You know that feeling? When your body knows something terrible is happening before your brain catches up? I should have closed it. Should have walked away. But I didn't. Lily, she's over here constantly. It's suffocating. The girls are starting to call her when they're upset instead of me. Karen. So? Set boundaries. Lily, I've tried. Daniel won't back me up. He's still in this pathetic, she sacrificed everything for me mindset. Meanwhile, she's living in a rent-controlled apartment in the Heights that'll be worth $400K when she dies. We need that equity. Karen, Jesus, Lily. Lily, don't judge me. We're drowning in private school tuition and the mortgage. That apartment is our retirement plan. I just need her to stop acting like she's entitled to be part of this family in the meantime. I read it 3 times, 4, 5, the words didn't change. That apartment is our retirement plan. My home. The place Michael and I had moved into as newlyweds, where I'd raised Daniel, where every wall held a memory I couldn't afford to leave. They were counting on me dying so they could cash out. And, suddenly, everything made sense. The way Lily had asked me twice if I'd updated my will. Just being practical, Aisha, you're getting older. The way she'd suggested, so casually, that maybe I should consider Daniel as my healthcare proxy, in case something happens, you know. The way she'd started timing my visits, cutting them short. The girls have homework, Aisha, maybe next week. She wasn't pushing me away because she didn't need me anymore. She was pushing me away because she was waiting for me to die. I closed the laptop. My hands were shaking so hard I had to sit on them. Sophie was in the next room singing to her dolls the same lullaby I'd sung to Daniel 30 years ago, and I felt something inside me crack clean through. But it got worse. 2 weeks later, I showed up early to drop off Maya's birthday present. The door was unlocked. I heard voices in the kitchen. Lily's laugh, that sharp, bright sound she made when she thought she was being clever. When she dies, our money problems are over. I froze in the doorway. Completely still. A statue made of heartbreak. Lily was sitting at the island, Daniel beside her, his hand wrapped around a coffee mug I'd given him for Father's Day. She was scrolling through something on her phone, showing him listings. Real estate listings. Look at this one, Park Slope, 3-bedroom, completely renovated. We could sell her place, use it as a down payment, rent this one out for passive income. Daniel nodded, just nodded, like they were discussing wallpaper. How much longer do you think Lily started? She's 67, Daniel said quietly. She's healthy, could be another 20 years. Lily sighed. Actually sighed. Like my continued existence was an inconvenience. Well, she said, tapping her phone against the counter, maybe we start suggesting Sunrise Senior Living. Those places are expensive, might speed things up. They wanted me in a nursing home. Not because I needed one, I was healthier than both of them, but because it would drain my savings faster, because it would make me easier to forget. Because dead or broke, either way, I'd stop being their problem. I backed out of that doorway so quietly I don't think I was breathing. I made it to the street before I threw up in a trash can on the corner of 7th Avenue and Carroll. A woman asked if I was okay. I lied and said I was fine. I've been lying about being fine for so long I don't think I know how to stop. But here's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't announce itself with thunder. It's quiet. It's your son's silence while his wife plans your funeral. It's the realization that every "I love you, Mom" was a down payment on inheritance. It's learning that you were never family, you were equity. I went home that day and sat in my rent-controlled apartment, my home, and looked around at 40 years of life. The couch Michael and I had bought used in 1987. The kitchen table where Daniel did his homework. The framed photos covering every surface. Daniel's graduation, the girls' births, Christmases and birthdays, and ordinary Tuesdays that felt, at the time, like forever. They wanted this. All of it. And they wanted me gone to get it. If you've ever trusted someone so deeply that their betrayal made you question your own worth, you're not alone. I've been there. I'm still there. And if these stories help even one person see the truth before I did, then maybe all this pain means something. Thank you to everyone who helps me tell these stories. Your support keeps this space alive for those who still believe that truth, somehow, will always find its way. Because it will. I promise you, it will. That night, I made a decision. I didn't cry. I didn't call Daniel. I didn't pack a bag or write a dramatic letter. I did something much quieter. I started documenting everything. The apartment was so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. I sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Daniel had done his homework, where Michael and I used to play gin rummy on Sunday nights, and stared at nothing. The apple pie sat in front of me, still in its carrier from Christmas dinner, untouched. Rejected. A 4-pound metaphor for my entire existence. Outside, snow was starting to fall. Those fat, lazy flakes that make New York look almost forgiving. I watched them drift past the window, each one separate, falling alone, and I thought, that's me now. I didn't cry. That's the strange part. I wanted to, God knows I needed to, but the tears wouldn't come. It was like my body had decided that crying required hope, and I had none left to spare. The radiator hissed. The refrigerator hummed. Somewhere above me, Mrs. Chen was walking her usual path from bedroom to bathroom and back. I'd lived in this building for 43 years. I knew every sound, every rhythm, every creak in the floor. This place had been my fortress. My proof that even after losing Michael, even after all the struggle, I'd survived. Now it just felt like a waiting room. I picked up my phone, put it down, picked it up again. Daniel's name sat at the top of my favorites list. Right where it had been for 11 years, since the iPhone became something I couldn't avoid learning. I stared at it, those 6 letters that used to mean everything, and pressed call. It rang once. Voicemail. He'd sent me straight to voicemail. I tried again, because maybe it was an accident. Maybe he'd just been in a meeting, maybe. Voicemail. And again. Voicemail. My son, the boy I'd carried, raised, sacrificed everything for, had programmed his phone to reject me. I set the phone down very carefully, like it was made of something that could shatter. Then I opened my voicemail and started scrolling. Messages from Daniel going back months, years. Hey Mom, can you watch the girls Tuesday? Emergency meeting. Mom, we're a little short this month. Could you help with the electric bill? Mom, Maya needs new winter boots. Can you grab them? I'll pay you back. He never paid me back. I deleted them. One by one. 53 voicemails. Each one a request. Each one a reminder that I'd only mattered when I was useful. The trash icon kept appearing. Are you sure you want to delete this message? And I kept pressing yes. Yes, yes, yes. When I finished, my voicemail was empty. The silence felt apocalyptic. The snow was falling harder now. I could see people on the street below, bundled up, walking with purpose, going somewhere, going home, and I realized I didn't know where home was anymore. Not really. This apartment was 4 walls and a lease. Daniel's house had never been mine. I'd been a guest they tolerated, a service provider they occasionally thanked. I thought about calling someone else. But who? My sister in Atlanta hadn't spoken to me in 6 years over some argument I couldn't even remember. My friends from the hospital had all retired, moved to Florida or North Carolina, sent Christmas cards with photos of grandchildren they actually got to see. I'd let those friendships fade because I'd been so busy being useful to Daniel, to Lily, to people who'd turned me into a line item on their budget spreadsheet. The apartment felt smaller, the walls pressed in. I got up, walked to the living room, sat on the couch, stood up again, went to the bedroom, came back. A ghost, haunting her own life. On the counter, next to the pie, was the Christmas card I'd bought for the girls. 2 separate cards, actually I always got them separate ones so they'd each feel special. Inside Maya's, I'd tucked a $20 bill. Inside Sophie's, the same. I hadn't given them the cards. Lily had made it clear I wasn't welcome past the foyer. I opened Maya's card and read what I'd written. To my beautiful girl, may this year bring you joy, adventure, and all the love you deserve. Forever your Nana. The handwriting looked desperate. Like it was trying too hard. Like it knew it wasn't wanted. I put the cards in the drawer with all the others I'd bought over the years. Birthday cards I'd been told came at a bad time. Mother's Day cards that got a polite text response. Valentines for the girls that Lily said were excessive. Maybe she was right. Maybe I was excessive. Maybe I was the problem. That thought settled into my chest like ice water. Maybe I don't matter anymore. If you've ever sat in a room so quiet it started to echo your thoughts, you'll understand this silence. It's not peaceful. It's not rest. It's the sound of becoming invisible. Thank you to those who help keep these stories alive. Your kindness helps give voice to people who've been forgotten, who sit alone in their pain, waiting to be seen again. I sat there for hours. The snow piled up on the fire escape. The city sounds faded to nothing. And I understood, finally, what Lily had known all along. I'd given so much of myself away that there was almost nothing left. Almost. But not quite. Because somewhere deep in that numbness, buried under the humiliation and grief, something else was stirring, something cold and clear and quiet. It wasn't hope. Not yet. It was something harder than hope. It was the beginning of knowing my worth. The envelope came on a Thursday. Plain white. Return address. Chase Bank. I almost threw it away. I'd been avoiding mail for days, couldn't bear another credit card offer or funeral home advertisement, but something made me open it. A statement for an account I didn't recognize. Joint account. My name and Daniel's. Opened 8 months ago. I stared at it. Read it 3 times. The withdrawals were small at first, $200 here, $350 there, then bigger, $1,500, $2,000, $800, $5,000. All marked ATM withdrawal or transfer to external account. Total withdrawn, $33,400. My hands went cold. I'd never opened this account, never signed anything. But there was my name, printed next to Daniel's, like we'd walked into that bank together and agreed this was fine. I called the bank. Waited on hold for 17 minutes listening to jazz that made my blood pressure spike. Finally, a representative young voice, bored, pulled up the account. Yes, Miss Williams, this was opened in March. Signature card on file. Can you send me a copy? Sure. Give me your email. The PDF came through while I was still on the phone. I opened it on my laptop, zoomed in on the signature line. My name. My signature. Except it wasn't. The A was wrong, too sharp. The loop on the H too wide. Someone had practiced, but not enough, not perfectly. I'd been forged. My neighbor Gloria knocked on my door that night. She never knocked. We had an understanding that coffee was always available, doors always open. But this time she knocked. Aisha, she said, not meeting my eyes, I need to tell you something. We sat at my kitchen table, the one that had witnessed 43 years of life. Gloria twisted her hands, nervous in a way I'd never seen. Last week, she said slowly, I was in the hallway, heard voices from the stairwell. Your son and his wife. I waited. Lily was talking about your apartment, said she'd already contacted a realtor. That once you were settled in Sunrise Senior Living, they could list it for $425,000, split the profit with the landlord for buyout rights. The room tilted. She said Gloria's voice cracked. She said you wouldn't last long in a facility anyway, that you'd probably decline fast once you were properly managed. Properly managed. Like I was livestock. Daniel didn't say anything? I asked. Gloria looked at me with something like pity. He asked if they should tour the place first. To make sure it looked nice. For appearances. I called my friend Bernard, retired attorney, someone I'd known since Daniel was in diapers, told him everything. He didn't interrupt, didn't tell me I was paranoid. He just said, "Give me 2 days." When he called back, his voice was different, flat, professional. "Aisha, I ran Lily's background. 2 bankruptcies, one in 2008, one in 2014. Both times she was married. Both times she walked away clean, while the husband drowned in debt." He paused. "There's a restraining order from her first husband, filed in 2009, accuses her of financial abuse and elder exploitation involving his mother." The room went very still. "She has a pattern," Bernard said quietly. "She finds men with assets or men whose parents have assets. She marries in, she waits, and then she extracts everything she can." I wasn't losing my mind. I was the mark. If you've ever found truth in the quiet moments after pain, you know what this part feels like. Thank you to everyone who supports these stories. Your kindness keeps hope alive for people still finding their voice after betrayal. I sat there in my kitchen, snow still falling outside, and felt something I hadn't felt in months. Clarity. I wasn't useless. I wasn't excessive. I wasn't the problem. I was the target. And now that I could see the whole picture, I understood something else too. They'd made a mistake. They'd assumed I was too kind to fight back, too old to matter, too broken to stand up. They were wrong. There comes a point when silence stops meaning defeat. It becomes preparation. I sat at my kitchen table the morning after Bernard's call, and the apartment felt different. The light came through the window softer somehow, like the world had shifted a few degrees and I was finally seeing it straight. I had my laptop open, a yellow legal pad, 3 pens, I'm old-fashioned that way, and a cup of coffee that had gone cold an hour ago. I wasn't crying anymore. I wasn't numb anymore either. I was working. First, I opened every bank statement from the past 2 years, printed them, highlighted every withdrawal, every transfer, every loan that was never repaid. The printer hummed like a heartbeat. Steady. Purposeful. Each page that came out was another piece of evidence. Another nail. $33,400 in unauthorized withdrawals. $12,000 in emergency loans Daniel promised to repay. $8,000 for the girls' education that somehow never made it to their school accounts. $53,400 total. I made a spreadsheet. Color-coded. Cross-referenced with text messages where Daniel asked for money, and I, like an idiot, like a mother, said yes every single time. For years, I mistook generosity for love. Now, I'm learning the quiet math of self-respect. Next, I called the bank. Different representative this time. I explained that my name appeared on an account I'd never authorized, that the signature wasn't mine. That I wanted to file a fraud report. "Are you sure, ma'am?" the woman asked. "This involves a family member. It could lead to criminal charges." I looked at that forged signature on my screen, the too sharp A, the practiced deceit. "I'm sure," I said. She took my information, opened a case file, gave me a reference number I wrote down in careful block letters, number BR40291NY. Then I did something I should have done years ago. I closed every joint account, every automatic transfer, every standing authorization that let Daniel or anyone access my money without asking. The rent assistance I'd been secretly paying for their brownstone? Canceled. The monthly deposits into their household account to help with groceries? Stopped. The college fund I'd set up for Maya and Sophie, the one I'd been contributing to for 9 years? I transferred it to a trust account in my name only. The girls would still get it when they turned 25, directly from me or my estate. Not through Lily. Never through Lily. Each keystroke was a knife cut through chains. My phone started ringing 2 days later. Daniel first. I let it go to voicemail. He called again. Voicemail. 12 times in one afternoon. Then Lily. "Aisha, we need to talk. There's been some kind of banking error. Our rent payment bounced." I listened to the message 3 times. Her voice had that edge it always got when she was trying to sound reasonable but was actually furious. I deleted it. It's funny how silence can sound like thunder when guilt starts to echo. More calls. More voicemails. Each one progressively more desperate. "Mom, please, I don't understand what's happening." "Aisha, this is childish. Call us back. We're going to lose the house if you don't fix this." I sat on my couch, drinking coffee, watching my phone light up over and over, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not happiness, not yet, but the deep, structural peace of knowing I was done being used. They taught me that love meant giving. Today, I'm teaching myself that love can also mean stopping. Bernard called on day 5 of the silent treatment. "I have good news and better news," he said. "The fraud case is moving forward, Chase is taking it seriously, and I found something else." He paused for effect. Bernard always did love drama. "Lily filed for power of attorney over you last month. She forged your signature on that too. The notary stamp is fake, I already verified with the state. If that had gone through, she would have had legal control of your assets, your medical decisions, everything." My hands tightened on the phone. "She was going to have you declared incompetent," Bernard continued. "Then move you into managed care, sell your apartment, and drain your accounts. It's all outlined in emails between her and a lawyer in New Jersey. I got copies through Discovery. I should have been shocked, but I wasn't." "Of course she was. Of course." "Bernard," I said quietly, "I want to invite them to dinner." Silence on his end. Then, "Aisha. A peace dinner. Here. Next Saturday. I'll tell them I want to reconcile, that I've been thinking about my legacy and want to discuss the future. And I want you there. As a witness. I want Gloria there. I want 2 other friends, neutral parties. And I want you to bring every piece of evidence we have." I could hear Bernard smiling through the phone. "You're not signing anything." "No," I said. "But they don't know that." That night I sent Daniel a text, the first communication in 8 days. "Can we talk? I've been thinking. I'd like to have you and Lily over for dinner Saturday, 6 p.m. Just family. I think it's time we cleared the air." The response came in 90 seconds. "Yes. Thank you, Mom. We'll be there." I sat in my apartment as evening fell, the city lights starting to glow through my window, and I thought about the woman I'd been 6 months ago. The one who apologized for existing. The one who measured her worth in sacrifices. She was gone now, and in her place was someone quieter. Harder. Someone who understood that justice doesn't scream. It waits. Saturday was 5 days away. I started setting the table. Saturday came quietly. I woke at 5 a.m., didn't need an alarm. My body knew. I made coffee. Dressed carefully. Navy slacks, a cream blouse, the pearl earrings Michael gave me on our 10th anniversary. I looked in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. She looked ready. By 4 p.m. everything was in place, the dining table set for 7. Gloria arrived first, carrying a casserole she didn't need to bring. Bernard came next, his leather briefcase worn at the corners from 40 years of law. Then my friend Janine from the hospital, and Marcus from downstairs, a paralegal who'd agreed to witness. "You sure about this?" Bernard asked quietly. I nodded. I've never been more sure of anything. At 5:58 the buzzer rang. I took a breath, opened the door. Daniel looked tired. Lily looked triumphant. "Mom." Daniel hugged me brief, obligatory. Lily kissed the air beside my cheek, her perfume expensive and cold. "Thank you for this," Lily said, her voice dripping with false warmth. "We've missed you. Liar." They stepped inside and froze. 4 other people sat at my table. Lily's smile flickered. "Oh," she said. "I didn't realize." "I wanted witnesses," I said calmly, "for what we're about to discuss." We sat. The silence was a living thing. Lily recovered first. She always did. Reached into her bag and pulled out a manila folder, slid it across the table toward me. "Aisha, we've been thinking about your future. Your security." Her voice was so reasonable it could have sold insurance. "These documents will protect you. A power of attorney, so Daniel can help manage your finances, a healthcare proxy, and a transfer deed for this apartment, just a precaution, so if anything happens to you, there's no legal confusion." She smiled. Perfect teeth. Dead eyes. "All you need to do is sign." The room held its breath. I looked at the documents, didn't touch them. Then I stood. "Before I do," I said, my voice steady, "I'd like to share something too." I opened my own folder, the one I'd been building for 3 weeks, spread the contents across the table like a hand of cards. Bank statements. Highlighted in yellow. Photocopies of the forged signatures. Screenshots of text messages. Printed emails. "This," I said, pointing to the first page, is a joint account opened in my name without my knowledge. $33,400 withdrawn over 8 months. I never authorized any of it. Lily's face went very still. This, I continued, picking up another sheet, is the signature card from that account. That's not my signature. It's a forgery. Chase Bank has already opened a fraud investigation, case number BR 40291NY. Daniel's fork clattered to his plate. And this, I slid a document toward Lily as a background check. 2 bankruptcies, both times married, both times you walked away clean while your husband's drowned in debt. Lily's mouth opened. Nothing came out. There's more, I said, my voice still calm, still steady. A restraining order from your first husband, filed in New Jersey. He accused you of financial exploitation of his mother. Sound familiar? I pulled out another page. Text messages, Lily's number at the top. These are from your phone to a friend named Karen. Quote, "That apartment is our retirement plan. I just need her to stop acting like she's entitled to be part of this family in the meantime." The air left the room. Daniel turned to Lily. His face was white. "Is this true?" Lily laughed a sharp, desperate sound. "She's senile, Daniel. Can't you see?" "She's confused." "I have 12 witnesses who can testify I'm of sound mind," I said quietly, "including my doctor. Would you like his affidavit?" Lily stood, her chair scraping back. "This is ridiculous. You're twisting everything." "Sit down," Bernard said. His voice had 40 years of courtroom authority behind it. Lily sat. "Miss Hendricks," Bernard continued, "what Mrs. Ported it Williams has documented constitutes identity theft, fraud, and financial exploitation of a senior citizen under New York penal law. Those are felonies. The forged power of attorney alone carries up to 7 years. The color drained from Lily's face. I leaned forward, my hands flat on the table. "You called me useless," I said softly. "At Christmas dinner. In front of my granddaughters. You said I was forcing my presence into this family." My voice didn't shake, it didn't rise. It was cold and clear as glass. "But today, I'm useful enough to end your entire scheme." Silence. Not the empty kind. The kind that has weight. That presses down on everyone until they can't breathe. Daniel's hands were shaking. "Mom, I swear I didn't know." "You knew enough," I said. And the look on his face told me he understood. He'd known enough to look away. To stay silent. To let it happen. That was its own kind of knowing. Lily stood again, grabbed her purse. "We're leaving." "You can leave," Bernard said. "But the fraud report is already filed. The DA's office will contact you within 72 hours. Lily looked at Daniel, waiting for him to defend her, to save her. Daniel stared at the table. She left alone. The door slammed hard enough to rattle the frames on my walls. Daniel sat there broken. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I didn't." "You did," I said quietly. "You let her. You let her humiliate me. You let her steal from me. You chose her over me every single time." Tears ran down his face. "I love you." "Love isn't permission to be cruel," I said. "And I don't accept your apology." He left too. Slower. Smaller. Like a child who'd finally learned actions have consequences. When the door closed, I sat back down. Gloria reached over, squeezed my hand. "You did it," she whispered. I looked at the documents still spread across my table. Evidence of betrayal. Proof of survival. "No," I said softly. "I saved myself. And for the first time in years, that felt like enough." After the verdict, silence became my favorite sound. It was the sound of justice finally breathing. The week that followed was strange. Not dramatic, no screaming matches, no late-night confrontations, just the slow, inevitable collapse of lies under the weight of truth. Daniel called twice. I didn't answer. He left voicemails, long, rambling apologies that sounded more like confessions to himself than to me. "I didn't know how bad it was, Mom. I thought she was just, I don't know. Stressed. I should have listened to you. I should have. The saddest words in the English language. On Tuesday, Gloria knocked on my door with news. She'd seen Lily outside their brownstone screaming at a man in a suit, the landlord's attorney. Eviction papers. 3 months of unpaid rent, the rent I'd secretly been covering, the payments I'd stopped 6 weeks ago. She tried to blame you, Gloria said, shaking her head. Said you'd promised to cover it. The lawyer just laughed. Told her promises aren't contracts. I sipped my tea and said nothing. What was there to say? I'd spent years keeping them afloat, and the moment I stopped, they sank. That wasn't my cruelty. That was their reality. By Wednesday, Bernard called with an update. The DA's office had opened a criminal investigation. Lily's lawyer, some guy from New Jersey who specialized in difficult divorces, had already tried to negotiate, offered restitution in exchange for dropped charges. What do you want to do? Bernard asked. I thought about it. Really thought about it. I could push forward, let the system grind her down, criminal charges, court dates, maybe jail time. Or I could let her live with what she'd done. Tell them I want full restitution of the $53,400, I said, plus legal fees, and a signed confession admitting to fraud and forgery. If she does that, I won't pursue criminal charges. Aisha, Bernard said carefully, that's more than generous. I know. Because here's the thing about revenge. Sometimes the cruelest punishment is letting someone keep their freedom and watch them destroy it themselves. Lily paid. Took her 3 weeks, but she paid. Sold her car, the Tesla she'd bought with my money. Liquidated her retirement account. Borrowed from her sister. Every dollar was a piece of her dignity. The confession arrived by certified mail. 2 pages, signed and notarized. I read it once, filed it away, and never looked at it again. I didn't need to ruin them. Their lies had already done that. By mid-February, the whispers started. You know how it is in New York. Everyone knows everyone, and secrets travel faster than the 6 train. People talked. Park Slope parents. The book club Lily had been so proud to join. Daniel's colleagues. Did you hear about the Williams situation? She was stealing from his mother. Forged signatures, elder abuse, criminal investigation. Lily stopped going to the girls' school events, stopped posting on social media. Her Instagram, once a curated highlight reel of number-blessed life, went dark. Daniel moved out of the brownstone. I heard through Gloria, who heard through her nephew, that he was staying in a studio in Sunset Park, alone. The marriage didn't collapse in one dramatic explosion. It disintegrated slowly, the way ice melts quietly, inevitably, until one day you look and there's nothing left but water. Maya called me in March. She was crying. Nana, Mom and Dad are getting divorced. Mom said it's your fault. My heart broke clean through. Baby, it's not. I know, she said, and her voice was older than 10 years old should sound. I heard them fighting. I heard what Mom did. I closed my eyes. I'm so sorry you had to hear that. Are you mad at us? At you? Never. Not ever. Can I come see you? I'd been waiting for that question for 4 months. Anytime you want, sweetheart. Anytime. We met for hot chocolate at a cafe on Amsterdam Avenue the following Saturday. Both girls. Without Lily. Without Daniel. Just us. They hugged me so hard I thought my ribs might crack, and I didn't care. I held them and thought, these are the innocent ones. They don't deserve to carry this. We miss you, Nana, Sophie whispered into my shoulder. I miss you too, baby. Every single day. Spring came quietly. The cherry blossoms bloomed on Riverside Drive. I started taking morning walks again, something I hadn't done in years. Stopped running myself into exhaustion for people who didn't see me. Started seeing myself instead. Daniel sent a letter in April. Handwritten. 5 pages. He'd moved back to Brooklyn, started therapy, the divorce was final. He'd lost the house, most of his savings. He was working on himself, he said. Learning to see the ways he'd failed. Not just me, himself too. I don't expect forgiveness, he wrote. I just want you to know I finally understand. You weren't the problem. Your love wasn't the problem. My cowardice was. I read it twice, put it in a drawer. Maybe someday I'd respond. Maybe not. Some debts don't need to be collected. Life has its own way of balancing the books. I heard through the neighborhood grapevine that Lily moved to New Jersey. Got a job in finance, ironic really. Daniel saw the girls every other weekend, rebuilding slowly what he'd let crumble. And me? I kept living. Not surviving. Living. I joined a book club. Started volunteering at Mount Sinai again, not for money, but because I wanted to. Repainted my kitchen a soft yellow that made mornings feel like hope. I didn't need them to see me anymore. I'd finally learned to see myself. And that, it turned out, was the only victory that ever really mattered. After the noise fades, what's left isn't victory, it's understanding. I walked through Riverside Park on a Saturday morning in May, the kind of morning where the light hits the Hudson just right, and the whole city feels like it's holding its breath. The cherry blossoms had already fallen, leaving green in their wake. Everything was growing again. I sat on a bench, the same one Michael and I used to claim on Sunday mornings 30 years ago, and I let myself feel it all. The grief, the relief, the strange, quiet pride of knowing I'd survived something designed to break me. Justice isn't about watching them fall, it's about standing again without hate. I thought about Lily sometimes, not with rage anymore, but with something closer to pity. She'd built her entire life on taking from others, and now she had nothing that was truly hers. No husband, no home, no one who trusted her. That wasn't my punishment, that was just math. You can't keep stealing from people and expect them to keep giving. Daniel was trying. I'll give him that. He showed up at my door in late April with flowers, daisies my favorite, which surprised me because I didn't think he remembered. He stood in my doorway looking like a boy caught shoplifting, and he said the only thing that mattered. I was wrong, Mom. And I'm sorry. We didn't hug, didn't cry. I let him in. Made coffee. We sat at my kitchen table, the one that had witnessed every version of us, and we talked. Really talked. Not the surface stuff, the polite updates and weather commentary. The hard stuff. I was scared of her, he admitted quietly. She made me feel like I'd be nothing without her, like I owed her for choosing me. I understood that. God help me, I understood it too well. She made me feel the same way, I said. Like my love was only valuable if I could prove it with money. With sacrifice. He looked at me then, really looked, and I saw the boy I'd raised. The one who used to hold my hand crossing streets. The one I'd lost somewhere along the way. I don't know if you can forgive me, he said. I don't know either, I said honestly, but I'm willing to try. That's all healing is, really. A willingness to try. We started small. Coffee once a month. Then twice. The girls came with him sometimes. We went to the Natural History Museum, got ice cream in Central Park, did all the things we used to do before Lily decided I was expendable. Maya told me about school. Sophie showed me her art projects. They were healing too, in their own way. Learning that love doesn't have to hurt. I used to believe love meant giving everything. Now I know love also means knowing when to stop. One night in June, I stood on my fire escape, the same rusty metal platform where I'd stood the night Michael died, where I'd cried so hard I thought I'd turn inside out, and I talked to him. Not because I thought he could hear me, but because I needed to say it out loud. I did it, Michael, I whispered to the city lights. I stood up. I stopped letting them use me. I chose myself. The wind picked up, warm and soft, and I let myself believe that was him saying, I'm proud of you. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Either way, I meant it. I started seeing a therapist in July, Dr. Chen, a woman in her 60s with kind eyes and a Brooklyn accent. She didn't tell me what to feel or how to heal, she just listened. And in that listening, I learned something crucial. Kindness without boundaries isn't love, it's surrender. For years I'd confused the two. I thought being a good mother meant never saying no, never protecting myself, never expecting anything in return. But that's not love. That's self-erasure, and no one benefits when you disappear. You taught them you didn't matter, Dr. Chen said gently one session, not because you weren't valuable but because you kept acting like you weren't. That hurt to hear. But it was true. So I started practicing something revolutionary. I started mattering to myself. I said no to things I didn't want to do. I stopped apologizing for taking up space. I let Daniel pay for coffee not because I couldn't afford it, but because I shouldn't always have to. I joined a pottery class, started painting again. Bought myself flowers every Sunday because I deserved them and didn't need someone else to tell me so. By August, something had shifted. I looked in the mirror and recognized the woman staring back. Not the one from before, younger, naive, endlessly giving. And not the one from Christmas, broken, humiliated, alone. Someone new, someone whole. Justice gave me back my name. But peace gave me back myself. I saw Lily once by accident at a Target in Queens. We made eye contact across the checkout lane. She looked smaller somehow. Tired. She opened her mouth like she might say something, then closed it. Turned away. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel angry. I felt nothing, and that, I realized, was the real victory. She'd spent years trying to erase me, and in the end, I'd simply moved on. I didn't need her apology. Didn't need her punishment. I just needed her gone from my life. And she was. Now it's autumn again. Almost a year since that Christmas dinner. The leaves are turning. The city smells like roasting chestnuts and possibility. I'm planning Thanksgiving at my apartment, small, simple, with people who actually want me there. Maya and Sophie are coming. Daniel, if he chooses. Gloria? Bernard? Janine? My chosen family. I'm making apple pie. Not because I have something to prove, but because I want to. If you've ever lost yourself trying to love someone who only saw your worth in numbers, I hope my story reminds you. It's never too late to choose yourself. Thank you for keeping these stories alive, stories where justice doesn't shout, it heals. Sometimes the quietest woman in the room delivers the loudest justice. And sometimes, the greatest revenge is simply living well.